Now, the wait is over. After 6 months without a board, the South African Broadcasting Corporation finally has a new leadership structure. That's right. President Matamela Ramaphosa has announced the names of the SABC's board of directors. Media Monitoring Africa Director William Baird joins me now for more reaction on this. William, good afternoon. Welcome to today. You are one of those voices that were very critical of the length of time it was taking for the president to finally make a call, a decision, and appoint this board. How did you react when you heard the news earlier today that it's finally done?
Well, I think it's a huge sigh of relief, frankly, that the board is finally, that the president has finally taken the decision to appoint the board. It's taken 6 months, as you've pointed out. 6 months, the SABC has had to go on a completely engineered crisis. And now what remains to be seen is just how the board is able to perform under close to impossible conditions. You know, there's all sorts of things that they're up against. They've got to comply with sections of the Public Finance Management Act. They've got to work out what's been going on at the board. They've got to deal with the handover report that's now 6 months old. They've got to deal with the traumas of load shedding. And they, of course, have to start to look and say, well, how are we going to deal with the coming challenges like the analog switch-off, as well as the looming elections?
Yeah. So when you look at the names, I mean, you knew them obviously before, and the president now choosing a chair and the deputy. Were you surprised by those choices?
I think the chair is certainly a surprise. It's just given at this point, lack of knowledge and engagement with broadcast issues. But, the previous chair wasn't a media expert either. So we have to hope that, he's able to come in and take hold and assert the independence of the SABC. We've seen that being, gradually undermined through these kinds of engagements with the SABC senior executives. Certainly none of their fault, but certainly efforts from previous minister, for example, to interfere in the affairs of the SABC. So we have to hope that the new board chair can come in and try and pull together quite a different group of people. It's not like they've all worked together before, but they've got significant challenges ahead.
Yeah, it might be useful to note that Katuchelo Ramukumba is playing a role at UNISA as CFO, and I understand he's a chartered accountant, maybe at the helm. The SABC, which has faced so many financial challenges, might really be needing a chair who understands the numbers. But the deputy is also a good choice, I think. I don't know what's your view. Nomvuyiso Baki, she's a former ICASA councillor and has worked before as an advisor to the Minister of Communications, and she seems to be very well versed in the area of digital technologies.
Yes, certainly. Ms. Bachi's got a really strong track record in this regard, and she's, I think, certainly one of the stronger candidates with regard to her knowledge and awareness of the broadcasting environment. And again, her knowledge and expertise in that field is going to be very, very useful. And there are a number of other members of the board that are also going to bring some strong skills. And I guess the key to it is going to be to see how they're able to work together, how they're able to try and work and resolve a range of things, the challenges that they face.
Yeah, I mean, any surprises for you when you looked at the list originally? I mean, I think it's still the same list. I mean, you've got names like Advocate Sidiso Tipanyana, the former CEO of the South African Human Rights Commission, and you've got a former colleague. She was head of news until recently when she was fired by the SABC, Ms. Patiswa Makopeni. Some years ago, she used to work here at eNCA.
I think that there's a range of really good skills and some that are controversial. We know that there were certainly moves, for example, made around trying to remove Ms. Magopeni, even though she'd gone through the parliamentary process just like everyone else. But obviously, we expect and hope that she'll be there to assert the independence of the SABC, ensure that they are well up to scratch for the elections preparation. Advocate Tipanyani, of course, coming from the South African Human Rights Commission, well aware of the critical role that the SABC can play in relation to human rights and fulfilling its public service mandate. So, with a good deal of skills, we hope that they can meet the necessary issues that they will be facing.
I mean, there are more names we could spend time on, but we don't have a lot of time. But we get the sense of this diversity, and we're going to see what they're going to do. You've just mentioned one thing important where I would like us to conclude with your answer, William, ahead of the elections. I mean, the SABC is a national public broadcaster. It's got so many radio stations, plus it's got 3 TV channels. It's an important platform for many people to access. I've heard of elections. If you had to advise this incoming board, what would you say they should prioritize to make sure that the public broadcaster plays its role in a very fair, balanced and accurate manner ahead of the elections and during the elections?
Well, I think they're going to have to highlight the critical importance of news and current affairs. Over the last couple of years, we've seen the number of those programs cut down. We've seen some of those responsibilities shift to the program area, and I think that's a problematic thing to do. They've got a strong head of news. They've got some excellent news people on their team. They need to emphasize that. They need to do a lot of work around their editorial policies. I think they've got the right tools and the right people. They need the resources in order to ensure that they can cover the elections freely and fairly. And they need to know, every single SABC employee needs to know that they need to go into this elections and cover them without favour or bias in favour or against any particular political party or member, and that the board will have their back and that the senior management team will have their back. The other thing that they're going to need to do is get some new senior executives. We know that at least 2 of them are due to have their terms end, and so this new board is going to have to come in and deal with a full handover, and at the same time get involved almost immediately in a recruitment process. We also then need to look and say, well, what steps can we take to prevent this from happening again? So in that regard, we're still reviewing our legal options with our legal team, given that there is a case before the Constitutional Court.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. William Bird from Media Monitoring Africa, just giving us his initial reaction to the announcement earlier today by President Matamela Ramaphosa that he's appointed for 5 years a new board of the public broadcaster, the SABC.